Hi, this is Stan. Welcome back to the Crow's Nest Railroad. Well, here we are, part 6, in our process of putting a switch and a spur in on our railroad here. Time to cut some rail. Let's get busy. Okay, well, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Point of no return. Got to cut into the rail. Yeah, let's see if it fits. Well, just a little bit for an expansion gap. Oh, what do you think? Well, there it is. All right, I got a couple of screws in, and I just want to check everything as well as I can before I completely lock it down. So let's pull a little flat car. Now, there's no rail over here that guides the flange and keeps the flange from picking on these points. There will be a rail in here that will capture the flange here and keep the car as much as possible against the inside rail, and that's not in there. So I'm going to make sure that, at least for now, it's not derailing every time it goes over. And I may have to hit this with the grinder just a little bit to sweeten it, but we'll see. All right, I think that's good enough for now. Let me bolt the rest of this down. Let's try it with one of the bigger, heavier cars. Alright, well, it's kind of quitting time for today. I'll get back at it in the morning, but let's just take a look. So we got this inside rail started here, keying off the frog there. Got our sleepers in rough position, and got this whole inside rail laid down. Got our rail joint with our new rail joiners there, and all the way up to the bitter end. I'm going to leave a little room in case I decide to put a little doghouse or something in here. I don't want to run it right to the wall. So tomorrow we'll pick up on this rail here and get that set. So making some good progress, feeling good. Well, that was a good morning's work. I'm in the full sun now, so I kind of took a break. You can see I got all the spur track done. So officially that spur is done. I'm going to do, some ballasting and tamping and stuff like that. But essentially, the spur is done. And let's take a look at the switch so far. So this was the original rail, undisturbed. It is continuous. And that was my reference along with the frog. And if you guys have any comments on switch building, go ahead and leave them, because I'm kind of making this up as I go along. So this rail here, this was in place, as so was this, and so was this rail here, which I cut off. Placed the frog. So this gauge, I gauged the frog to this gauge here, and this gauge is consistent. That really hasn't changed. So what has changed though is the spur track, which I keyed off the frog and keyed this stub here along with this big sweeping track over here. That goes down and joins in with the existing track. So this was gauged together and this was gauged together. And so let me run the car through here and we'll just kind of see if it's working smoothly or not. Okay, that seems to be gauged all right. Let's check the other way. Okay, nothing disastrous so far. Okay, I did my best to get everything leveled out when I gauged it so that I don't have an extreme uphill or downhill on the spur. Let's give it a test and see. Well, I kind of think, even though I've done a lot of work so far, none of it has been like really delicate engineering or anything. So in that respect, I think I've done all the easy parts. Now I've got to hinge some point rails because they're going to do a slight hinge point here, and this will be some of the really tricky stuff to get the actual switchable points working and not causing derailments. And then I'm going to have to come up with a couple of guardrails up there. Now this piece of rail I cut off there, so it should be the proper radius to blend perfectly down in here. Although I got to figure out how I'm going to shave this down to a point. Then we have to do the same for a curved rail coming this way. So that's next up. I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but there's a couple places where I couldn't use a typical track screw. There just wasn't enough room, so I actually drilled a hole in the flange on the bottom of the rail and fired in a smaller screw. There's another one there. And I may have to do a little more of that. There's just not enough room in there for two of these big-headed screws. Well, this is a good place for me to break for this week. I've got some planning. I've got to experiment with the grinder and a couple of other things to get into those custom rail pieces now that we're going to need. So I got to do a little thinking about that. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. I know this has been a lengthy series and it's stretching out in viewing time much more than it is in real time. But just want to thank you so much for watching the series, and we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah.